Episode 5 of Ahsoka is like a turd that just won't flush as it continues to circle the toilet but never submerges. Now, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Any normal person watching this must be at a complete loss as to what is happening. What the fuck are these magic whales? What is the world between worlds? Who exactly is Thrawn and Ezra? And why should anybody give a shit? The most basic questions are never answered, and with each episode they just add more. Like, what the fuck is Anakin? Is it really him, a ghost, or a vision? This is never explained and is intentionally left vague because Dave Filoni doesn't want to commit to an answer.
Coward.
Now, a large portion of this episode is just member berries, with Anakin not feeling like the real Anakin at all. Him having an apprentice in the first place is stupid, because he is arrogant in episode 3, which feeds directly into his frustration against the Jedi Council and ultimately his downfall.
What?
But in this episode, when he is with Ahsoka, he seems to be showing way more patience and maturity than he ever did in Revenge of the Sith.
That doesn't make any sense!
The whole World Between Worlds segment is supposed to be about Ahsoka learning a lesson, but just like the motivations of the villains, it's vague and nebulous, because what she really learnt was fuck all. Yes, they do fight, but since it has no stakes whatsoever, the fighting is completely meaningless, and that is the perfect way to describe this show. It's full of empty, shallow fights with boring characters, and in between those fight scenes is a convoluted and idiotic story. But what else can you expect from Disney, the company that made Luke Skywalker drink titty milk before killing himself? Anyway, let's not waste any more time on this shit than we have to, so let's break down the plot. It begins with Hera landing at the location where Ahsoka fell off the cliff, and her son asks if he can leave the ship. The obvious answer would be no, because she hasn't secured the area, and there could still be enemies around. But once again, not giving a flying fuck about her own son's safety, she says yes. Somebody needs to call protective services because she is going to get Jason killed. We then cut to Ahsoka, who is in another dimension called the World Between Worlds. What exactly is this place? Well, it's never explained, and the first thing she does before talking to Anakin is fold her arms for the millionth time. Now, Ahsoka has been teleported somewhere else and is talking to a man who she presumes is her long-dead master, and still she shows almost no emotion or even asks basic questions like, where the fuck am I? Who are you? Or even, is any of this real? No, she just goes along with the whole situation, because if she did ask questions, then Dave Filoni would have to answer them, and he has no interest in explaining all of this to the audience. So Anakin wants to finish Ahsoka's training and they fight. Now, the lesson he is trying to impart in Ahsoka is...
Live or die.
What does he mean by that? Turns out fuck all. So she is not learning anything at all, and that is a major problem with Ahsoka as a character. She is a complete blank slate, so she doesn't have any flaws, shortcomings, or regrets to overcome, and this lesson won't make her change, learn, or grow as a character. Anakin then knocks her off the beam and she lands in the Clone Wars as a teenage girl. So after a few conversations, she says to Anakin that she wonders if her legacy will be one of war and death. When did this show ever establish that Ahsoka thought of herself as nothing but a soldier? Oh right, it never did. This is just thrown in here to try and give her an arc when she doesn't have one. The only thing close to a regret she has, when she was a child, Ahsoka felt guilt because her orders got people killed, and that's not really her fault, because why the fuck did the military put a child in charge of soldiers? I don't know, but she never mentioned this once to Sabine or Huyang or Hera, so she must have gotten over it. Anyway, we cut back to Hera and the bald Asian man, who says that Senator Leia Organa is covering for them and they need to head back.
What the fuck are you talking about?
When the fuck did this happen? Again, why do all of these important scenes keep happening off camera?
If we stay out here any longer without reporting in, people are going to start asking questions.
A top military official leaving with a squadron of fighters should have immediately set off the alarms, but this is the New Republic we're talking about, so being incompetent is part of the job. Now, the real reason why Hera has recklessly endangered her son's life becomes apparent, because it turns out that Jason is force sensitive and says that he feels something out in the water. Fuck me, is the show contrived. This is why Hera made that stupid decision to bring him here, because the plot needed to have Jason on the planet so that he could sense Ahsoka fighting Anakin in another dimension.
Christ, who wrote this?
This is the problem with the Force, it's become a crutch for lazy writing. So Hera takes Huyang and the ship and goes looking for Ahsoka, but leaves Jason behind for no reason.
Why?
At this rate, he is going to end up on the side of a milk carton, and maybe that's Hera's plan, as she is showing a clear pattern of behaviour, constantly trying to put Jason in harm's way. She took him to an active war zone, told him to come out of the ship when the area wasn't secure, and now leaves him behind for almost an entire day. She left in the evening, stayed out all night, and has only come back at dawn. Jason has been sitting there for almost 12 hours. This is not just negligence anymore. She clearly shows malice to this boy. Her plan is definitely for him to die tragically, then she will start a GoFundMe and make lots of money out of his death. Well, that's my theory anyway. We cut back to Ahsoka fighting Anakin and she wins, because of course she does. What other outcome was there? She says that she chooses to live, whatever that means, and then he disappears. Was he real, a Force ghost, or an illusion? That's never explained, and she sinks underwater and ends up back in the real world. Dave Filoni doesn't give us any actual answers because there aren't any. He's making shit up as he goes, which is why Anakin is here. This entire segment was just an excuse to have Hayden Christensen return to the role as Anakin Skywalker, glorified cameo, and to trend on Twitter, nothing else. Now, after learning nothing from Anakin, this is somehow a catalyst for her character's growth as she turns into Ahsoka the White.
Fuck off.
You can tell Dave's original idea was to have Ahsoka use the world between worlds to teleport to Thrawn, but since he is such a coward, he shit out on that idea and decided not to commit to it, just like he never committed with the helicopter lightsabers. So he instead has Ahsoka try to find another means of travelling to another galaxy, which has ended up being just as stupid as teleporting. Ahsoka wakes up after being rescued by Hera, and when she holds the broken map in one hand, she says that Sabine hasn't printed it with the Force, which she can use to read the past. This is called psychometry and is supposed to be an extremely rare Force ability that you can't learn, you have to be born with it. So of course, Ahsoka has that ability too. She has to have every power in Star Wars because she is just that amazing. We then get another fuck Jason scene when he tries to ask Huyang to train him and he says no. Why? You train Sabine, who has no Force abilities, why not Jason? Did Hera tell him not to do it in case he learned to defend himself? Or is he not allowed because the Jedi have included new DEI requirements and he is a white male so he doesn't qualify? Either way, Jason is getting fucked over in the show the most. The New Republic fleet then arrives to arrest Hera, and Mon Mothma asks her this.
Do you have evidence of Imperial Remnant activity or of Grand Admiral Thrawn's return?
No.
Yes, you do. Huyang scanned the entire hyperring completely, and Ahsoka Tano is a witness to corroborate the story. So I guess evidence is useless in the New Republic, and they want to submit Hera to a trial.
I don't give a fuck.
As this is happening, Ahsoka suddenly gets the bright idea to fly up to the dumb fucking space whales to ask for a ride. Anyway, chubby bald Asian man tries to stall a New Republic fleet by acting retarded, and of course this works. We then see Ahsoka fly up to the space whale, which doesn't just fly right through her ship, and she asks it for a ride to another galaxy. It sure is convenient that these whales have been hanging around this planet the entire time, instead of, I don't know, fucking off to another galaxy. And so the whale opens its mouth and lets them come inside as it's about to jump to light speed. Huyang then says this.
You're certain they know where Sabine was taken?
I have no idea.
Are you fucking retarded?
If she is joking around with Huyang, then how could these whales possibly know which galaxy to go to? And if she is being serious, then Ahsoka may just be on the spectrum, because that is an unbelievably stupid plan.
We'll just see where it goes.
It could go anywhere.
This show is made by retards for retards. There is no other way to explain it. It's like an onion, but each layer is filled with more shit than the last. Ahsoka is a moron's idea of what a smart person is. Just think about this scene for 2 seconds. The ship is not attached to the whale, so when the whale accelerates, the ship would go flying right to the back of its mouth and be crushed by the inertia. Or even if that did work, the ship would slowly melt in the whale's stomach because the whales are obviously not designed to carry ships. And is this show trying to tell us that these whales are so intelligent that they somehow know exactly where Sabine has gone despite having zero directions from Ahsoka?
That's retarded.
Notice how she is wearing all white like she's fucking Gandalf after his transformation. Her IQ is lower than Merry's, let alone Gandalf, and yet Dave is trying to make a comparison. They're not in the same league, they're not even on the same planet. That is how much above Ahsoka Gandalf is. Gandalf ascended into a higher state of being after fighting a Balrog and sacrificing himself to save the Fellowship. What exactly did Ahsoka learn from Anakin? What, she wants to live? So does everyone else. This means absolutely nothing, and her transformation is cosmetic only. And so the episode ends with Ahsoka travelling inside a space whale as it jumps to the exact galaxy she needs to go.
What a load of bollocks.
What's the point in watching this show? We all know how it's going to end. Thrawn's gonna come back to the galaxy and make a brief cameo before saying, "Let's begin," like he's Daenerys Targaryen, and that's it. This is all a giant waste of time.